Hi there BookTube, it's Eleanor here and it's time for our best of 2017. So it's that time again where we sort of wrap up the books that we've enjoyed the most in the year. So today I'm making a video of all of my favourite books of 2017. The way I've done this is literally looked at the ones that I've given 5 stars. So I'm going to be going through those now, giving you a very brief synopsis and also the reason why I enjoyed it. So let's get stuck in because there's a few here. The first is Brain on Fire by Susanna Cahalan. This is a New York set memoir which accounts the struggle when at the age of 24 she wakes up in a hospital strapped to the bed with no idea how she got there. This was scary and gripping, a real life mystery that leaves you needing to read on and find out how the story ends. Next is Just Mercy by Brian Stevenson. Another non-fiction. This is the true story of the author's time when he was a young lawyer, when he founded the Equal Justice Initiative, which is a legal practice that works to defend those that most need it, either because of poverty or mental health, or women and children that have got lost in the system, those that have got wrong convictions. This was an eye-opening look for me into the American criminal justice system and gave me some food for thought on the death penalty. Next is The Soul of an Octopus by Simon Montgomery. Again, non-fiction, and this is the exploration of the physical and emotionally complex world of the octopus. These are such intelligent creatures. It was fascinating to get to know them through Sai's account. I found this thought-provoking and emotional and a real insight into some creatures that I didn't have any idea about before I read this book. Next, I'm going to be moving on to some YA books. The first is The Hate You Give by Angie Thomas. This is the story of 16-year-old Star, who by day attends a prep school in a really good area and by night lives in a poor area in America. After witnessing the shooting of a friend by a police officer when he is unarmed and not posing a threat, she has to decide if she's going to stand up and talk about the experience, if she's going to stand up for what is right, and we follow her in this decision-making time. I think this is an important look at racial profiling, police shootings, and this was inspired by the Black Lives Matter movement, and it sheds a light on a topic that I haven't personally had much exposure to, so I really enjoyed it for that. Next, I want to talk about Strange the Dreamer by Laini Taylor. War orphan, librarian and dreamer, Laszlo Strange has always dreamed about finding out more about the strange city of Weep. This elusive city has disappeared and nobody really knows why or what happened to it. One day he gets the opportunity to discover more about this, to visit this place and to learn more about its past and history and what happened to it, and he jumps at the chance and we follow him on this adventure and this expedition to a place that he has only ever dreamed about. I love Laini Taylor's prose. Her writing is beautiful and lyrical and her storytelling is amazing. She manages to really get you gripped and enthralled in the story, and I found myself invested in the characters and fully believing this world that she had created. Next is Dreadnaught by April Daniels, and this is the story of Dani, who is suddenly passed the mantle of a superhero's superpowers. And this is a look at what she does with that. Now, Dani isn't just a normal teenager. She is transgender, and having these superpowers has given her the body she's always dreamed that she should have. But there are those around her who don't see this as a blessing, and it's very much, as well as a superhero story, a story of how she deals with that and how she learns to be herself no matter what. This takes a look at transgender and homophobia and what it truly means to be who you are, no matter who stands in your way. Bone Mill by Miranda Sherry is a story spanning a number of years. We start with Poppy, aged 6, who is rescued from an abusive, drug-addicted mother by her grandfather and taken to a small rural community in South Africa. We then follow her life with her grandmother and grandfather, their love of gardening, which then passes on to her, and then how her life changes in an instant and the choices she makes and the fears and nightmares she has because of her past. past. This is a beautifully written story and very emotional, and I really can't wait to read Miranda Sherry's other book. I have it. I don't know why I haven't read it yet, but I'm going to soon. Next is Everything Beautiful Is Not Ruined by Danielle Young Older, and this was one that really packed a punch at the end for me, which is often not the case, and often I read a book and I'm enjoying it all the way through. This one I was enjoying all the way through, but at the end it really pushed it up to a 5-star read. It's a story of Ingrid, who is attending a wilderness retreat which is for at-risk teens. She's going on this retreat to prove to her mother that she is capable of pursuing her dreams and can withstand hardships in order to achieve that. As she fights these physical and mental challenges, we learn more about her story and also about those that she is on this retreat with, and how they form relationships and friendships and a bond, and how eventually Ingrid is looking to discover the courage to sing, even though her mother, who was a famous opera singer, was unable to sing because of something that happened with her voice, and is constantly telling her that she shouldn't do it. She's looking for that strength to go out and pursue her dreams, even though it goes against what her mother is asking from her. This is a readable book, a real page turner, and had me sobbing at the end. Next is A Boy Made of Blocks by Keith Stewart. This was my first foray into reading books with autistic characters and really set me off on that journey of becoming interested in these types of stories. It's a family story which is inspired by the author's own experience with an autistic son, and it is a look into how families can adapt and need to adapt and change with children with autism. Alex and his wife Jodie are having a split because Alex is unable to cope with his autistic son. He doesn't really know how to connect with him, and Jodie is fed up with the constant tension in the house and asks him to move out. We look at him trying to rebuild relationships with his son and also with his wife, and finding a way to finally connect with his son, which eventually comes through the game Minecraft. And it's a really inspiring book. This gives you an idea of what it must be like to be living with a severely autistic child and the struggles that you might come across, but also those wonderful times where you connect with them, and how that is such a powerful feeling and how it can mean so much to a parent. This was heartwarming and honest, and a really, really good read. Next is Winter Garden by Kristen Hanna. This is my first book by her, and I read it over this Christmas period and I loved it. Split between the past and present, it looks at the links between parents and their children and how hard those bonds of love can be. We're really looking at two sisters. They've grown up very differently. One is now a famous photojournalist and travels around the world. The other has stayed nearer to home and had a family and children and helps out on their family apple orchard. When their father is on his deathbed, they both come home and look to support their mother, who is very cold, has never shown them any love, and they start to unravel the mystery behind her past and possibly the reasons why this has been. And their father encourages their mother to share her story, and she's always done this in a subtle way through bedtime fantasy stories, through fairy tales. And again, she tells them this fairy tale and it starts to become obvious that she is talking about real life events. This is really good. It covers a portion of history I don't know much about. It also looks at a place during this historical time that I knew next to nothing about, and I found it very emotional and moving. Next is The Eye of the Reindeer by Ava Weaver. Just after she turns 13, Ritva, who is a young girl and lived in Finland, is shipped off to an island where people are sent, or women are sent if they're considered hysterical. A former leper colony, this island captures the women and they're unable to leave. They work and live in this institution where they are treated wonderfully, and she there meets another woman called Marta, and we follow their adventure and journey as they break away and break out of this institution and look for a place to be themselves. This story really looks at how lives can be changed by stories and how the strength of others can inspire you to make changes in your life. There's vivid descriptions of landscape and places, and some really interesting topics covered, like lesbianism and what it was considered in olden days to be hysterical, and also how important culture and cultural heritage is. I've put down here Shawna McGuire and Everything She Writes. There was 3 books this year I gave 5 stars. There was Down Among the Sticks and Bones, Beneath a Sugar Sky, and Dusk or Dark, Dawn or Day. I loved them all. They were all 5 stars. She can do no wrong in my opinion. So yeah, anything Shawna McGuire writes, you should read. That's my plug for that one. And then my final book to recommend to you, and that I gave 5 stars this year, is Mockingbird by Catherine Erskine. I'm not sure if this is middle grade or YA, but it certainly packs a punch whichever category it falls into, and I loved it. Caitlin sees everything in black and white. She doesn't really get the nuances of life. She doesn't see the grey areas. She's always relied on her older brother Devon to point out those nuances to her. As a young girl with Asperger's, she needs that reassurance and help. But at the start of this story, Devon is dead. He was killed in a school shooting, which has left the whole community reeling, including his father, who is a single parent to him and Catherine. With Devon gone, Catherine can't understand what is going on around her. She can't understand the grief that people are feeling, especially her father. And when she discovers this word closure in the dictionary, she takes a very literal meaning from it and goes looking for closure. And we follow this and what happens. I really enjoyed this because it felt very real and honest. It felt very like it was looking very carefully at what it must be like with Asperger's, rather than poking fun or trying to get a laugh out of the reader. There were moments of laughter in there, but they didn't feel forced, and they didn't feel like you were being pushed to laugh at someone, which I really respected. So, lots of books that I've really enjoyed this year. I hope some of you will be inspired to pick some up if you haven't already. Let me know if you agree with me on any of these, and I'll see you, well, in the next video, but soon in 2018. So bye for now, 2017, and I'll see you soon. Bye for now, BookTube.